This is Carl A. Harris, certified master inspector, certified assessor, and supervisor for environmental issues. And what you're going to see here is a video. Basically, these are things you need to know. Now, this particular video is actually um, the city, all right, or the municipality, basically unblocking a sewage backup or sewage blockage. Which basically made its way back into this home, as you can see, and it backed up into the shower, flooded the basement. Now, there's some things you need to know when these situations happens. First of all, it's very important to get the water out, right? Dry the basement down as fast as you can. 24 to 72 hours, it will turn into microbial growth or mold possibly. Um, Um, so in this situation, you can see it pretty much was a wrap, right? We had to dry the basement out. We had to remove the water. Um, of course, some of the content had to be discarded because this is sewage. So you need to understand when a basement has a water issue, you have categories of water, right? They can put you at risk, right? This is considered category 3 because it's sewage. Okay. As you see, when I'm walking through the basement, I'm looking at different things as far as where I'm going to set up my equipment. Some of the equipment was dropped off, and we're in the process of pretty much setting everything. You see the dehumidifiers, there's air movers, and the homeowner had some fans too that they had air circulating. Okay, then we had to take up the flooring. We had to come back and take up the flooring, as you see, and then we had to remove drywall and insulation. In these situations, you do something called a 2-foot or 4-foot flood cut. So if you see something like this is what had to happen. Okay, and then we had to dry the basement out. There's several things that you should know as a homeowner. One is that, you should make sure you have sewage and sump backup coverage in your policy. A lot of times people get standard policies, they don't have the coverage. Also, you need to be aware that if you don't, most insurance companies do not cover for outside water. Anytime water comes from the outside in, they do not tend to cover, but they will cover a pipe burst or something along those lines, water heater discharge overflow. They'll cover those things, but what they won't cover is pump back up because that water came from outside the home or sewage unless you have that coverage in your policy. Now, if you run into issues as far as your insurance company not covering you, in these situations, you may have to obtain what they call a public adjuster. A public adjuster advocates for the homeowner. They work pro bono. If you go get an attorney, 9 times out of 10, they don't have expertise in building signs. So they're probably going to retain a public adjuster and just charge it to you. So this is just something you need to know. Keep in mind, in these situations, insurance companies tend to provide 30% less than what you should actually receive. There's a lot of things that get overlooked too. A lot of times they'll refer their own contractors. So you should keep in mind in these situations, before you even contact the insurance company, you do your due diligence. You might want to check with a public adjuster, have them review your policy. You might want to check with someone else in the trade that knows a little bit about this. Because a lot of times, just for example, with that poor air quality, they tend not to clean the coils and the blower motor and the ductwork of the HVAC systems. And a lot of times this stuff is being distributed throughout the house. Long-term exposure can affect your health, especially if you suffer from asthma or any kind of autoimmune deficiency issues.